pleaded guilty today to kidnapping and sexually assaulting a girl from Somerset County. 20 years ago, Timothy Nelson took the girl to West Virginia and raped her. Ralph Iannotti explains how technology led to his arrest.
In a quiet neighborhood in Shade Township, Somerset County, nearly 2 decades ago, a 10-year-old girl was walking with her friends when
a man pulled up in a vehicle, jumped out of the vehicle, grabbed this girl, threw her over his shoulder and into the back of his car and sped off.
Police say she tried fighting off the suspect, but he held a gun to her head so she would stop.
And then he proceeded to drive 60 miles and 3 hours away across the West Virginia line, where he sexually assaulted this young girl.
They say after the assault, the suspect drove back to Fayette County and kicked the little girl out of the car.
And she was left at the side of the road, where a couple drove by and came to her aid.
Investigators say the girl led police back to where the sexual assault happened, and that's where they found some evidence,
which we later discovered had both DNA and partial latent fingerprints of the perpetrator.
Investigators tested the evidence but came up empty-handed. In 2004, that DNA matched a kidnapping in Maryland. Investigators were one step closer. But it wasn't until last year that investigators reran the fingerprint and got a match.
And at that time, Timothy David Nelson Jr. was identified as the possible perpetrator.
Then, in January, investigators arrested Timothy Nelson and tested his DNA.
And laboratory at the FBI was able to confirm that the partial prints from the discarded bag was indeed a match.
He was taken to Somerset County Jail, where he was then transferred to federal custody.
I'm pleased to announce that Timothy Nelson Jr. pleaded guilty to kidnapping and sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl from his crime nearly 20 years ago.
Nelson will now serve 30 years behind bars.
He is likely to spend the rest of his life in federal prison.
Ralph Iannotti, KDKA News.